Item: SCP-1406. Code name: an old entity. Object class: safe. Special containment procedures. Site-121 has been established in and around the building above SCP-1406, surrounded by a barbed wire fence monitored through several CCTV cameras installed around the perimeter. A cover story regarding restoration of the building by a landowner has been circulated. Description: SCP-1406 is a medium-sized structure located in a heavily damaged building in France. The structure consists primarily of brick and sheets of steel, and is affixed with a wooden door. Individuals inside SCP-1406 have reported experiencing various hallucinatory and psychological effects. These have included observing what was described as a mating pair of heavily injured Octopus vulgaris common octopus in the center of the room. Injuries included skin lacerations and several amputations, as well as a green-brown discoloration. A pronounced sensation of the interior of SCP-1406 being slightly larger than the exterior by a minor factor. A professed sense of slight forgetfulness, which persisted upon exiting SCP-1406. SCP-1406 contains an object resembling a normal chair constructed of 10 to 20 small pieces of metal. The object appears to be coated in a semi-transparent, mildly luminescent violet liquid. Analysis of this fluid has shown it to be a mixture of Tyrian purple dye, tungsten and several unidentified substances. Several seconds after removal from SCP-1406, this mixture will invariably cease luminescing. In addition, SCP-1406 houses a small, brick fireplace, containing an exothermic variant of the same fluid. Incident 1406-E. On the 2nd of May 2011, an individual later positively identified as a resident of the local village of was found attempting to access SCP-1406. The individual was detained and interviewed, repeatedly stating his belief that a significant event would occur in the near future relating to SCP-1406. No further useful information was gained from interviewing the subject, and the individual was put under observation. At 1934, a visual phenomenon was noticed to occur at 3 points in the vicinity of SCP-1406, these being a point several meters from SCP-1406 itself, at the edge of a forest kilometers away, and in a field of cattle in each case, several pulses of light were produced in quick succession. At the second and third locations, significant cheering was noted to occur despite no noticeable flame. A tree at the second location and a bull at the third were both severely damaged as a result. No cheering was noticed on the buildings surrounding SCP-1406. Later investigation revealed a figure resembling a semi-humanoid head several meters from SCP-1406, constructed primarily of wood and a small mass of cattle tissue matching the affected pine and bull. This object has since been put into storage. Shortly after this, Mr. began loudly vocalizing in French, and expressing distress. See Document 1406-2. Document 1406-2, abridged transcript of the speech produced by Mr. during Incident 1406-E. When the universe was young, the entity was a great, massive thing. Its form was twisted, unnameable and ancient, as to drive men mad in their attempts to envisage it. And so, this being of such scale spawned the many, who were not as immense, but were numerous to the extent of measure. As reality grew old, so too did the entity. The span of its existence was inconceivably long, but not infinite. Its nature approached order and sense, and its image now could no longer drive men mad as once it did. It became small and shriveled where once it was colossal, and infirm where it was once powerful. In time, the entity was no longer a god to men, and it became forgetful and tired. So very tired. What little potency it had left it used to influence former worshippers to care for it, while it sat beneath its shrine in the warmth. The Mene, now fully formed and independent from their creator, left to thrive at the far extents of the universe. Once every million years, they returned to where the entity had gone to endure the rest of its existence as a ritual of their nature, but they soon grew weary of this. Their creator was no longer even aware of the things it had made, and paid them no heed when they arrived. Soon, the Mene, even more fragile than their forebear, fell apart with the passage of time, their remains forming a great mass at the cold, unstable edges of reality. For what remnants of the Mene remained, at this place bound by no laws, thought was interchangeable with matter. And in their decaying bodies was the memory of sapience, which became sapience. And so, one final thing formed from the Mene. The collective, a shambling, unfocused, designless creature, with a mind that was barely functional, and which barely existed at all. And so, this patchwork thing slowly returned in the vague direction it recalled from the pieces of the Mene. Grandad? You seemed sad, so I made this for you. Grandad? Are you okay? Do you remember me? Following this, Mr. was unresponsive to interrogation. Mr. is still under observation.